Scott had always felt a deep connection to nature. As a park ranger in a vast national park, he spent his days immersed in the beauty of the wilderness, ensuring that visitors respected the land and its wildlife. With towering trees, meandering trails, and the serene sounds of nature, the park was a sanctuary for him. However, his peaceful existence was about to be shattered. One crisp autumn morning, Scott began his routine patrol. The air was fresh and the leaves crunched underfoot as he walked along the familiar paths. This day, however, felt different. There was an unsettling quiet that hung over the park, a stillness that made him uneasy. He brushed it off, convincing himself that it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. As he ventured deeper into the woods, Scott noticed signs of recent activity: broken branches, footprints in the mud, and discarded food wrappers. Something was off. He quickly realized that these were not the remnants of careless tourists, but indications of illegal poaching. His heart raced as he remembered the warnings he had received from fellow rangers about poachers operating in the area. Determined to catch them in the act, Scott decided to take a different route, hoping to gather evidence. Hours passed as he navigated the dense forest, and just as he was about to turn back, he stumbled upon a clearing. His breath caught in his throat as he spotted a group of men setting traps and preparing to hunt illegally. They were armed and appeared to be well equipped, clearly experienced in their craft. Scott's instincts kicked in. He knew he had to report this. However, he also realized he was outnumbered and in a precarious position. He instinctively reached for his radio, but one of the poachers spotted him. "Hey, you!" the man shouted, brandishing a weapon. Scott froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He had only a moment to decide, flee or confront them. He chose the latter, hoping to buy time until backup arrived. "Leave this place!" Scott shouted, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I've already called for help!" The poachers laughed, a harsh, menacing sound that echoed through the trees. "You think we're scared of some ranger? This is our territory now." They advanced toward him, weapons drawn, and Scott felt a surge of adrenaline. He was outmatched, but he refused to back down without a fight. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees. His colleague Ben had arrived just in time. "Scott, get back!" Ben shouted as he brandished his own firearm. The situation escalated rapidly, and in the chaos, shots were fired. Scott ducked behind a tree, his heart racing as he heard the sound of gunfire and shouting. With Ben covering him, Scott managed to radio for additional help. The poachers, realizing they were outnumbered, began to retreat. In the ensuing struggle, Ben managed to subdue one of the men, while Scott kept the others at bay. When the backup finally arrived, the poachers were apprehended, and the danger was finally over. Later, as Scott sat in the park office, the reality of the day's events hit him hard. He felt a mixture of relief and fear. This incident had shaken him to his core. While he loved his job, he realized that the risks were higher than he had ever anticipated. After much contemplation, Scott made the difficult decision to resign. He knew that the park would always hold a special place in his heart, but he needed to prioritize his safety and well-being. As he left the park for the last time, he glanced back at the towering trees, the trails, and the beauty he had cherished. The wilderness would remain a part of him, but he understood that sometimes it was essential to walk away from danger, even if it meant leaving behind a piece of his soul.